Welcome back, Gwenters. This is the deck we've been talking about, the deck I've been teasing, the deck that is just so much fun to play. It is engine based and it does really pretty well in the current meta. So play this if you are like me and you just like to play engines. You're sick and tired of persistent, stupid person removal that doesn't use any brain power. This is the deck for you. This deck has some really complex plays in it. It has some sophisticated tempo. It also has some complex dynamics, and it is very, very high point slam potential, but also just general, not really engines in the typical sense of engines, but they are. And it's just a total right. So we're calling this Fear the Beasts. Mask of Urubos here. Serving two purposes. One, we are running a Birna, Morkvarg, and Tursik Skirmisher combo. These got buffed, worth investing in. Now worth 4 points instead of 3. Birna coming in at a hefty 6. And then we also have Morkvarg still sitting pretty at 5. Still really enjoying him. Now, a couple of changes you could make to this deck. We are running Crow Mother, we are running Morkvarg, and I personally love Elf and Onion Soup as a combo for them if you have some Purifies. Grimace just being a little too expensive for my taste, but you could use Crow's Eye, Spring Equinox being in here, and Siegfried for very specific reasons we'll get into in a minute. The true tempo point plays of this game, though, Gedeneth coming in here hot, Draco Turtle being just an awesome play, especially with Gedeneth. Best combo with Mardrome in the game, I think. I do think Mardrome needs to be fixed in how it reacts with Berserk units. I would like to see that fixed. I think specifically Vildkarl comes to mind. Now, in my opinion, Gedeneth, if you play that Mardrome, should damage him by 3, trigger the Berserk, and then boost him by 9. That would be just awesome play. Would create like a really tall card that's very vulnerable to Geralt, Igni, etc. Reset even. But would be also a difficult card combo to set up perfectly, as you would need to play them on 2 different turns. Vildkarl being a human cultist warrior, but not a druid, so he would not proc this Gedeneth play. So just something I've been thinking about. I would really like to see get fixed. This order of actions being still a little complex. Svalbard Priest also pairing really well with Draco Turtle. Honestly, if I could include one more thing in this deck, it probably would be Svalbard Priest. But Crow Clan Druids just playing really good tempo here. And in fact, I'm going to switch this. As I'm talking about this, I've played this deck several times, and I just feel like Svalbard Priest is the one thing missing. I think it was running one previously just because Svalbard Priest was not a cultist. I mean, he was a cultist, but he was not a druid. But he is a druid now, getting great synergy with Mask of Urubos. Now, we're running Rage of the Sea purely because Deafening Sirens are beasts. Now, they are doomed. They are tokens. But we are running 1, 2, Crow Mother spawning 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then if he spawns another one, 8, 9. You can spawn one with him, but we won't. 10, 11, and then these ones adding another 6 between the two of them, so 17, 18, 19 different beasts, and then our Gedeneth also spawning another 3, so 22 different beasts that we run in this deck, plus the 3 leader charges, bringing us to 25 beasts that you can actually end up putting into your graveyard using no other than Siegfried of Denel, who has the coolest animation in the game. But Spring Equinox being a close second to that with how their Purifies work. And what we're going to do is we're going to purify off the Dooms, and then they're going to go into our graveyard to boost up Corrupted Flaminica. Now, for every beast you can get in there, she's going to just boost herself by 1. Even if you didn't have the Purifies, between Knickers, Roach, Operator, and then these Crow Messengers, you'd still have a decent enough play that you would want to include her in your deck, in my opinion. Savage Bears also being great, depending on how many you have in the graveyard. So just some good plays there. Now finally, Combi. Combi works exceptionally well in this deck. This deck doesn't run removal, and so it can be a little bit weak to point slam plays from your opponent. Combi ruins those. As you guys have seen in my Lippy's Cockerel video, you can do some crazy stuff with Combi. But there's less need to wait for final play with him here. You can go ahead and put Crow Mother into your graveyard and get her back after you play an Alchemy card. You can put Morkvarg in or Tersic Skirmishers to bring them back to that row. But because we're relying on Corrupted Flaminica to get this one boost, any beast like a Savage Bear that you go ahead and put into your graveyard, or even Crow Messenger being quite excellent because they play from your graveyard without even needing an Alchemy card in your hand, are going to be point plays. You are going to be setting up an additional point onto Corrupted Flaminica and discarding a card from your opponent's hand that is going to be worth more points regardless of what it is. So long as it's finding 6 points, Combi is going to meet that, and for me, we've always found that value. Personally, Lippy's Cockerel was always just a little bit difficult to get Combi to work well because it required so much point play and tempo. This deck, he just works really well, and we want to use him early so that Corrupted Flaminica finds full value. So we're going to go ahead here and jump into a game and show you a bit of how this works. For Skellige's glory! Now, I will say, if our opponent wants to line up Dagger, Two Blades, and Wild Boar, we are hosed. So we may actually just want to pressure really hard in the second round. Now, the other card we're going to be looking for here, Operator plays really well with some other cards. Let's see if we can't get Bearmaster not being super valuable. Savage Bear does work with Operator, so we will go ahead and keep him in hand. And we are on blue coin, so we will get an additional card. We'll keep this Skirmisher in hand. We're going to need a Druid. Crow Mother represents that Druid. So we're going to go ahead and put this back. Now, Combi and Morkvarg is one of my favorite combos. You guys know that, so we're going to go ahead and leave that. Axel 3 Eyes, not really necessary here. All right, we are in a good place. We got Burna. That increases our draw consistency. We're going to go ahead here and just put down Crow Mother, as she does represent so many points. And then hope we get something a little bit different. So we're going to go Mask of Ouroboros here. We do get a Crow Messenger. We're going to go ahead and put this Savage Bear back into our discard pile. Maintain Morkvarg for Combi and a Skirmisher for Birna. Just seeing what we get there. Hoping for a Siegfried. I know we did put Spring Equinox back into our deck, but Siegfried here being a little bit more valuable just because we're playing in different rows. If we miss them, then we'll make sure that we're playing cards or tempoing out of this round fast enough that we won't have to worry about that. Now, Svalbard Priest plays really well with Crow Mother. Go ahead and kill off Crow Mother, bring her back with a Crow's Eye Rhizome. Works quite well in my experience. Here, we're going to go ahead and use Operator and spawn down this Crow Messenger. Just really valuable. If this messenger ends up in the graveyard, we can go ahead and get it back. But because we have an Alchemy card in hand, we can go ahead and summon out the other Crow Messenger from our deck. That's likely what we're going to do just to make sure Birna isn't grabbing an unnecessary card there. Very much confusing our opponent. Now, Operator, also great value here because he is actually, or she, however you want to term him, it is a beast. And so we're finding some really good value from him on top with that Corrupted Flaminica. I'm guessing the Berserker came down from our opponent just because he didn't know what else to do. I would like to see Siegfried here, and then we can go ahead and use Rage of the Seas. But here I'm feeling pretty confident about our ability to tempo out this round. We do want to bleed pretty heavily next round, if possible, using Combi. We just need to make sure to keep 2 Druids. My favorites being Corrupted Flaminica, Axel 3 Eyes, but you can use these Crow Clan Druids, Svalbard Priests, so we do have some options here. And I also really, you can get a good sense for your opponent on what their hand includes by how long it takes them to make decisions. Here I think we're actually just going to go ahead and get a Svalbard Priest out. onto this Crow Mother just to get maximum value, get an engine up and running. He is worth 1 point per turn on net. If you're hitting armor, more points. If it's Draco Turtle, it's 3 points per turn, as Draco Turtle is regenerating that shell so long as it has 1 armor, and boosting itself every time its armor takes damage, for each armor that is lost. That's why Mardrum is just so valuable. Also trying to get out some of these damage cards. We just have a lot of plays here that are a little bit sensitive. Now, melee row for both Touristic Skirmisher and Morkvarg, so just something to keep in mind. Whenever you draw new cards, they will come to the right. I know we're going to get some cards that we don't care about as much with Combi. So here, going to go ahead with Burn a Brand, see if we can't get something of value. Just really unfortunate plays for us. So we'll go Touristic Skirmisher, and I think actually... I think we have 1 Savage Bear in the graveyard, so we'll keep the other one, get rid of Morkvarg as well. Now here we have gotten so many beasts into our graveyard. Now granted, the doomed cards are not going to end up in our graveyard. That is a little bit unfortunate, but certainly not the end of the world. Brokvar Archer getting a nice buff rework this game. Wanting to kill that Morkvarg. Whenever you see Crow Mother and Morkvarg out, it's always a good idea to get rid of the Doomed card. That way people can't use Elfin Onion Soup. Although here, to be honest, because Roach is so damaged, I would have no problem using Elfin Onion Soup on so many of these tutored beast cards. We're just going to take our opponent down until they start taking long decisions on their plays. Here, finding pretty good value with this Savage Bear. That said, we do have a lot of Bloodthirst out. If he were to play Wild Boar, we would be toasted. Although I don't anticipate that our opponent would want to play that so early, as they will need to close out a future round. Now I would like to save all 4 of these cards, as they will be useful later on. So here we're going to go ahead and pass. Call our opponent's bluff. They need to make up not 10, but 11 points. Herkia representing 1 damage, and then these bleeds representing 2. Will be interesting to see what our opponent decides to do. Herkia could be triggered for her 3 damage, making it so that our opponent needs to make up 10, minus 3, plus 2, being 9 points, plus an additional point in order to get value. Now, some of you may have said, On-Crate Raiders did damage. Yes, they do actually have a Bloodthirst 3 gain Zeal. Just something to keep in mind. But decent veteran card. Here we can see our opponent really likes a lot of the cards that they have. Really going to be interested in seeing what our opponent decides to put down. I'm guessing Greatsword. Heimdall being a really good option for us. Our opponent having to spend pretty heavily to get out of this round. They may very well just want to get out of next round pretty quickly. We are a little bit draw dependent here on trying to get Gedeneth. That said, we have used Burna, we have used Mask of Ouroboros. A little bit unfortunate that we're struggling so much to get cards and getting back some cards we really don't need. But we will use the Spring Equinox and Gedeneth to get maximum value. Now, the Crow's Eye Rhizome is a played card. We do need 2 different Druids, though, in order to get maximum value. So here I am going to be looking for 1 more Druid instead of this Crow's Eye Rhizome. And then Combi likely going to get played in final round. Here we go. We have Crow Clan Druid. Great value for us. This works pretty well. If our opponent decides to pass, we will be in a little bit of a pinch. But we're not feeling too shabby. I do like getting out Gedeneth for these On-Crate Raiders and others because they feel so confident in their ability to flush our plans down the drain. But it is something that does really struggle to get specific play. So here we will go for Gedeneth, and we are going to be playing it in ranged row and then proccing our beasts to melee. We will be playing 2 Crow's Eye Rhizomes. So here we're going to go ahead and play Rage of the Seas. That gets us this Deafening Siren. Also knocks him down to 4 points. But this Deafening Siren representing a beast that we can get some value out of. Svalbard Priest likely will be set up right here to get maximum value. But we can use Crow Clan Druid also next to these Deafening Sirens, Crow's Eye Rhizomes as well to get maximum value. All comes down to how much we want to play, because it's possible that our opponent will want to play a lot of units this round, trying to bleed us pretty hard. We might want to think about how we're going to play each and every one of our cards. Svalbard Priest being a decent discard for combi, but Spring Equinox truly representing 0 points. We do have a decently thick graveyard, so I think we have a little bit of time to make some decisions on those choices. Here, though, I think we are going to go ahead and get Svalbard Priest down into melee row. The reason for that, here we will go ahead and play Crow's Eye Rhizome. That brings out our Crow Mother. She comes to a random allied row, but I knew for sure we could get this Svalbard Priest next to these crows. Pretty good value there. And I'd like him to set up one more unit on one of these rows before we go ahead and use Rage of the Seas. But as soon as our opponent is down to 1 card in hand, if they decide to bleed that far this round, we're going to go ahead and use Combi on the Spring Equinox. The Delta just representing so many points for us. Here we can use Crow Clan Druid to boost up this crow, keep it alive for a little bit longer, just in case our opponent decides to peter out here. Here we'll go ahead, use our Mardrome. I think our Crow Clan Druid is probably the best option for this, we don't want to render too many units vulnerable to a Morkvarg Heart of Terror. And then we'll go ahead and use this Rain to proc out another one of these Deafening Sirens. Note that Combi does not require the opponent to have passed, so if you ever need to just make a small point play and want to ruin your opponent's comfortable hand, go ahead and use Combi to just ruin their day. Crow's Eye Rhizome still representing decent points here. No other true engines working with it, so we might want to save it just so we can pair it with this Crow Mother replay. Here, though, we're feeling pretty good about where we've ended up. We'll go ahead and pass. Now, it would be nice to get Axel 3 Eyes, but I would say that Draco Turtle represents the best value for us. Although here, Tursic Skirmisher is excellent pairing with Combi. We'll go ahead and leave that. Put in Spring Equinox, not really great value. Both these Crow's Eye Rhizomes will find some value if we can get out another Druid. There is Axel 3 Eyes. We have to think how many crows we're going to be spawning, and it is going to be quite a few. Here, Draco Turtle just representing a really decent play of putting something out on the board, scaring your opponent, forcing some harsh removal. Now, it does play vulnerable to a champion's charge. We'll just have to see if that's something our opponent is looking to play this game. No way of knowing until it's played, unfortunately. But random damage procs will be punching into this beast. Harald being a really great example of that. Just going to go ahead and feed some health to this Draco Turtle every time he's playing a warrior. Bit of a poor choice in my decision, but everyone gets to make their choices. Here, I think we are going to go ahead and play Corrupted Flaminica. Both Flaminica and Draco Turtle representing decent points. We'll play them to different rows. Flaminica collecting off 8 beasts in our graveyard. So really coming down for some decent point slam, but not crazy point slam. Had we used Siegfried of Denel. Again, just really bad luck. You can see we have thinned down to just 3 cards. And had we used some of these other cards earlier, it might have yielded a different result. A little bit unfortunate this damage is proccing onto Corrupted Flaminica. And now that we're going to be posting up some druids, could be a little bit annoying for us. We're just going to have to gauge when our opponent is going to play something good. Here I'm going to go ahead and put up Rage of the Seas just to force out this damage from Drummond Berserker before it's time, getting us that boost. There is a lot of Row Swarm with this deck, so that is something to be cautious of. Not going to be hugely problematic in this decently short game. Here we're just kind of wanting to get out our crows and get down 3 eyes before it's too late. We do maintain card advantage over our opponent, them only being able to play 1, 2, 3. They are only able to play, let me think here, 1, 2. They've played 2 cards already, so they're able to play 6, we're able to play 7. I can do math, don't worry. A little bit interesting to see that damage come down on Corrupted Flaminica. Wild Boar coming out a bit prematurely in my experience. Not really sure what our opponent's looking to do there. Proccing that damage on Draco Turtle a little bit prematurely. I'm going to go ahead and get out some more of these crows. Just going to be preventing our opponent from making last play. Having last say is critically important for that with Combi. We'll find out if we've held on to it for just a little bit too long. Leader ability not being necessary. I kind of anticipate our opponent will want to make that last. Arnulf representing a net 8 points. So we're going to go ahead, take a risk here. Pray that our opponent saves it for their last turn. And go ahead and ruin that opportunity if the game makers have made it so that you can't do anything when you don't have any cards. But I think it still does often let the opponent come back and still have another turn. They just won't have another card. So either way, that really won't impact our decision too much. It just will stuff them out of a certain row, preventing cards from our side. So this actually comes down at a decent time for us. Just wondering if he's playing like a Wild Boar. Oh, Madman Lugo's coming down for a great point play against Axel 3 Eyes. Missing out on that unit. It's a bit of a bummer. And you can see if we had had Siegfried of Denel in an earlier round, we could have been putting together a lot of these crows for point boost onto Corrupted Flaminica. We're just kind of getting some unfortunate draws. Here we've discarded the opponent's card, bringing out our Touristic Skirmisher. Just not enough points for us. Let's see what their last play would have been. Looks like I couldn't quite catch what it was. Alright, so you can see in a straight up smash fest, this deck, you can miss your draws and it can be a little bit unfortunate. Especially since there's only 3 cards left in our deck. That was really bad luck. And the order of turns in which you get them can impact you. Now, so one option you could do is put back in Combi and instead use maybe like an Oneiromancy card or even a Royal Decree to tutor out those specific units that you would like to see. Here we're jumping into one more game. See if we can't get somebody who likes to play just a little bit faster than our prior opponent. That match lasting for a good 20 minutes.
For Skellige's glory!
Excuse me. Water going down the wrong pipe there. There are some bricks in the first round we do need to worry about. We'll go ahead and put both of them back. We're on blue coins, we'll maintain both of these skirmishers as they are further down the deck as well. So some good point play that we can get there. Bearmaster probably being one of the least valuable cards. Now, trick for Brenna Brand, do not play her as your first card at 10 cards. you will only draw one card and then be forced to discard 2. Excuse me. Also important with Morvran, if you've ever used him. So here, I think our slow play likely will be Draco Turtle, and then we can pull out this Svalbard Priest for some good points. We don't need to use this Mask of Oribos quite yet, so we won't do that. Hyperion Phantom's 3 damage is a little bit threatening here, so here we're going to just pull out Svalbard Priest just for good damage, just for good point boost. Like I was explaining before, this represents a 3-point engine every turn just between these 2 cards. Really useful, highly suggested, but mostly just getting that down so we can make decisions about what to do with our other beasts and units over time here. Goliath coming out, I'm guessing to maintain dominance. Something we're not entirely concerned about. And we do want to row stack a little bit here, just because monsters aren't usually running a lot of row punish with part of this deck. Instead concerned about the height of the unit, not the breadth of the units. So here we're going to go ahead and use Berna. Crow Mother being a great draw, but putting both of these skirmishers back, we can then go ahead and use this Mask of Oribos and bring out one of these, put back one of these Savage Bears as another good option. We aren't currently carrying any alchemy cards, so unfortunately not able to take advantage of these Crow Messengers. Again, just kind of bad luck that we've had with draws lately. This is a very good thinning deck. It is usually quite good at consistency. So just something to be aware of. Here we're going to go Crow Mother. That way we can boost it up with a Druid if we want, but also we can use this Purify to get 3 more beasts into the deck. Not a bad play. We'll go ahead and use Rage of the Seas in order to proc those other beasts as well. Ardgaith punishing Svalbard Priest this round, but then boosting Draco Turtle. Not my favorite play against Draco Turtle. I would think the opponent should have thought about that just a little bit more. And then here punishing these skirmishers and this Crow Mother. So not the worst thing we've seen. Now Axel 3 Eyes plays really well with Gedeneth. We're going to save him for that. Instead here, I think what we're going to do is go ahead and proc out some of these Sirens. They make for decent point play, but not really all that great. But we are going to be able to purify 6 beasts with this play here. Now, if this Draco Turtle takes damage at the beginning of our next turn, we will actually end up getting 2 boosted points. Quite valuable. And then these 2 are both beasts, so we could actually use Crow Clan Druid next round if we want to. Savage Bear, though, being my preferred option, with us being able to proc 2 bleeds because of our position, with 1 Savage Bear already in the graveyard. And again, they work as great options for Operator. This kind of just comes down to what we want out of this. Our tallest unit being brought out here, a 5-point unit in Morkbark. Kind of a poor play from our opponent. But that works. They are probably trying to maintain this dominance. Getting risked here by Draco Turtle. We are going to put some pressure on. Well, let's just think. This goes up by 1, max of 3 points. So we would go down to 47. And then our opponent would be looking at needing to make up that difference. Icarn barely closing that gap. But this still representing a 3-point boost. I don't think there's any way our opponent can get there in one card play. We are going to try to push them out and force their hand here. They're also taking 2 damage randomly. Then this Frost boosting our units and losing damage, so it netting out, hence my math there, not including the frost. But the 2 damage from that rain causing our opponents some problems, and now forcing them into a bit of an odd round, where if we can pull Gedeneth, we might just be able to push them out. So this deck being quite good at greed. We really do want Gedeneth here, or we do have 1 alchemy, so we can go ahead and pull this Crow Messenger. Savage Bear being less helpful here. We're going to go ahead and put that back. Crow Messenger being utterly useless. Gedeneth here being such great value for us, especially because we have Siegfried of Denel and Crow's Eye Rhizome. So we are going to go ahead and get down as many of these points as we can. And Axel 3 Eyes playing really well as the 2nd druid I've found. We do have 1 druid out here in Crow Clan Preacher. And just because our opponent is forced to watch us make plays here and he is playing from even cards, we get a lot of options. I will say we want to get out this Crow's Eye Rhizome and then play down our Crow Clan Druid. Reason for that being we want the target beasts. We're trying to save Axel 3 Eyes to play after we've already played a bunch of these beasts. We maybe should have actually played this Crow Messenger first. That was a bit of a misplay on my part. Us not having a alchemy card and alchemy card in hand causing some problems there. But here we're going to go ahead and play Crow Clan Preacher. Say that 6 times fast. Let's get the boost. Play the Crow's Eye Rhizome. We can play that to any row. That boosts up our Crow Clan Preacher. Ugh, Crow Clan. Get a different name. This also putting some deep pressure on our opponent. Not really sure what the target's going to be here. Knickers being a bit of an odd choice. Svalbard Priest would play for decent points here, but Axel 3 Eyes I think probably being best just with all of these beasts. I think we'll go ahead here though and get out this 1 Crow Messenger. That way when we get the other one to hand, we can call it from the graveyard after we've played Corrupted Flaminica. Flaminica, however you want to pronounce that. Flaminica just sounds so beautiful. Now if we get this damage down on Crow Mother, we might be really lucky. Crow Clan Preacher still representing passive points. Unsure why our opponent felt like it was unnecessary to target that. I think maybe getting these all damaged down so that Gedeneth and Merdrome representing the lowest points possible. That might be one option. Here though, I know we want all of these units purified, so that's what we're going to go ahead and do first. And then we can use Siegfried as the target. That way we don't have 2 massively boosted units subjected to Imlerith's Wrath worth 13 points. Our opponent's still forced to make plays. We do need to make sure that our plays are enough and powerful enough to overcome the point gap here, representing 9 points. We're easily going to get that with Axel 3 Eyes and the Merdrome boost. So we're going to go ahead here, use Axel 3 Eyes. Actually, one second. Axel 3 Eyes representing 7. Svalbard Priest. I'd like to get our opponent down to only 2 cards. I think this is actually probably the best way to do it. Crow Clan Preacher is going to get boosted here. Boost up Siegfried all the way up to 11. We are up a point. We have an engine going. And Axel 3 Eyes will still be able to come down for a lot of points. We have now pressured out our opponent's Haunt. They are frustrated, annoyed, depressed, all of those things. The card they wanted to move here was Svalbard Priest. A bit of a poor choice. Axel 3 Eyes still having room to come down and boost himself off of all of these different beasts that we have out, representing a lot of point play for us. We are up by 10 points. Our opponent a little bit crimped here in what their choices are. Needing this Death Wish to get the boost. Likely going to get it with this Barghest. Going up by 1 point. Again, something that we were okay with all along. Just this turn, we were putting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different beasts into our graveyard. Corrupted Flaminica representing incredible point slam that we can make his final play, which we are fine waiting to do. We were also able to force out our opponent's Ikran, Ozril, and Haunt. Oberon probably being the final card in hand. Not representing the greatest of value. Alright, Crow's Eye Rhizome requires a Druid. Here, Combi may represent ultimate point play. Looking for this Crow Messenger, though. Let's see if we can't get that. It would represent 4 points. Savage Bear would be bleeds over a period of time. That would just be a little bit problematic for us. We'll go ahead and play Crow Messenger, then likely Combi, and finally ending with Corrupted Flaminica. This Crow's Eye Rhizome only representing 4 points for us, not being a great card. Combi forcing out whatever it is that our opponent has, being a little bit better. Here we can look through the graveyard, remember what our opponent has played. I'm hoping that this captures Oberon. We're just going to go ahead and take a look-see. Kind of wish it would show. We were able to get what I think was probably a Wild Hunt Bruiser. So not the greatest of options for us available. Our opponent only getting 1 damage of Frost off instead of the usual 2. And NL Conqueror coming down as final card. Let's just check this one more time. I'm pretty sure it was a Bruiser. They were just missing Oberon, is what my guess was. It might have been Naglfar. I don't recollect our opponent having played Naglfar. I certainly don't remember 2 Bruisers. Let's just go ahead and check here. The match history. There's 1 Bruiser. And Naglfar was earlier, so it was the Bruiser. And Corrupted Flaminica coming down for a 21 point slam on a 7 provision unit. Much better than any Gourd you're ever going to see. So showcasing how this deck really can and should work. Still missing some of those, the Operator proc of the Crow Messenger. Still missing some of those optimal plays we would have liked to have seen. But Siegfried playing very well with Gedeneth is the intention. Purify, working to remove those dooms and adding more beasts to our graveyard. But thank you guys so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed this deck. I wish I could include unlimited gameplay. I just can't. But you can join me on Twitch, where we will play this deck. Honestly, anytime you request it, I love playing it. So go ahead, post that up. We'll be playing it. We'll be having fun. But good luck out there on the path. Keep me posted of what you're thinking in the comments. Please like, subscribe for more content. And until next time, keep on Gwenting.